Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Littig, and I'm one of the co-founders of Zuckerberg Institute, and I'm so proud to welcome you to the Zuckerberg Institute Post-Pandemic Task Force webinar. Here at Zuckerberg Institute, we are dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs of all ages to become innovators of tomorrow, and we have a lot of things planned for you for this next 30 minutes, but most importantly, I'd love to introduce you to my fellow co-founder and one of my heroes, Brian Patrick Murphy. Hey, Brian.
Hey, everybody. Welcome again. Thanks, Michael. This is like such a joy to be here tonight. Thank you for those of us that are joining at 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Some of you are out West. We got people from literally all over the world on this call. So we're so happy to have you and tell you about what is the Post-Pandemic Task Force. So really my goal tonight is to be the host of the party here. That's what I do best. That's what I love to do. And along with Michael, I am one of the co-founders of the Zuckerberg Institute. And here in a minute, I'll be introducing you to our really, really special guest that we have coming up. Tonight, what we're really going to be talking about are some industries that have really been affected by what's going on in the world right now. I don't have to sit here and preach to you about what all these things are. We know we're feeling it, we're facing it, our families are dealing with it. And so tonight is really about hearing some of the industries that are being affected, what it is that's affecting them, and perhaps some things that these industries are doing. And ultimately, in a conversation with the amazing Randi Zuckerberg, we're going to get some ideas about what we can potentially do about it. And ultimately, tonight, we're going to be telling you, too, about an amazing 3-week program we have coming up starting June 15th called the Post-Pandemic Task Force. So we're so excited to be here tonight. And without further ado, I have to introduce you. Michael said I'm one of his heroes. Well, that's wild, because the person I'm going to introduce you to is somebody that Michael and I have known for many years, and we still look up to as a friend, as a colleague, as a boss, as a partner, the amazing Tony Award winner, New York Times bestselling author, creator of Facebook Live, just amazing entrepreneur, host of SiriusXM radio show, the one and only Randi Zuckerberg. Welcome, Randi.
Hi, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much. It's great for all of us to connect virtually like this.
This is the best, Randi. And so where in the world are you calling in from?
I am in California right now, in Northern California, where I have been for 2 months now, sheltering in place like everyone else. I came out here with about 3 days worth of gym clothes thinking, hey, I'll be coming home in a few weeks. And now here we are 2 months later. So it's a good thing that in video conferences, you can only see from the neck up.
Exactly. Nobody knows that we don't have shoes on, it's like, okay. Randi, one of the reasons that that I'm so glad you're here is, first of all, you have so much knowledge in these industries that we're going to be talking about, but also you're somebody like Michael as well that just is obsessed with traveling. And I know that that's such a part of what you do for a living and part of just your enjoyment in life. So I know that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. And you're, of course, affected by all these things. So I know you're excited to talk about these things.
I am. There's so many industries right now that are being affected. And for me, I remember the last time that I sat in a position just like this was in 2007, 2008, when all of a sudden the iPhone came out and no one had really seen it coming, how game-changing the iPhone was. And all of a sudden, every single tech company in Silicon Valley that was building for the desktop had to basically pivot overnight their entire company or risk going bankrupt. And so, there's that poses a real challenge, but there's always just incredible opportunity in events like that. And I haven't felt that way about any event like we have until now.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because I know, obviously you and Michael and I and the rest of the Zuckerberg Media team have been talking about this every single day, really, in the last 2 or 3 months, because the whole idea, little did we know that the tagline, the value of Zuckerberg Media is changing the face of innovation. And, it's like, little did we know over the last few years of us working in this company together that now we really have the opportunity to do that.
Exactly. So that's why I think I'm so excited for the program that we're talking about today, because I think it's so important for all of us to focus the best minds and start thinking about where are the opportunities coming out of this. Any challenging event creates just incredible business opportunity and the ability to help a community. So that's what I'm thrilled to all be here discussing.
Yeah, and that leads me into my first real question for you, which is, really why were you inspired? I mean, you pitched this idea to Michael and I of this post-pandemic task force. You said, I've got an idea. So where did that come from?
Well, I think, first of all, I've always been really inspired to work with students. First and foremost, I watched as my brother created and launched Facebook at 18 years old. So anyone who says that high school students and students can't do huge things in life clearly hasn't met some of the top minds in tech and business. I think the other thing that I was just thinking the other day is, high school students today have grown up from day one of their lives with all of these tools. I mean, even I sat on the front lines helping to build Facebook, and I guarantee that every student on this webinar can use social media better than I can, even though I was on the front lines creating it. So I think it's really incredible what happens when you aren't jaded by old ways of doing things, or thinking, you have all these ideas in your brain of what life was like pre-technology and post-technology. No, if students today, the world is entirely open to them. But I also think something that I've been thinking about a lot is how challenging it is to be a student right now if you don't have access to things like the SATs, extracurricular activities. I'm sure so many of you have had friends who haven't been able to walk in their graduation ceremony, or haven't been able to go on a trip that they were looking forward to. And so I started to think, what could we really do that could help students differentiate themselves and stand out when they don't have access to things? And I think, honestly, there is nothing that could help you stand out and be differentiated more than helping to come up with an idea or a business plan or a policy change that could help us come out of this.
I love that you said that, and that leads us directly into some of the questions we're going to be talking about and these industries are facing. Because when you first talked about this, I think to me, my initial reaction was, wow, we're going to do this amazing program with these adults and we're going to do all this. And you were like, no, high school students are going to have the answers because they aren't jaded by some of these preconceived notions and they have these skills. And that is so inspiring. And immediately it was like, yes, this amazing thing. And so we're so excited about that. And so let's get into some of these industries. One of the first things I wanted to talk about with you are things surrounding travel. Obviously, this is a huge passion of yours. So maybe you can give us some thoughts around the issues facing the travel industry, and then maybe some of the things you're hearing of solutions and ways we can work around that.
Sure. So as we're going through some of these industries, I just wanted to let everyone who's watching know that these are some of the industries that we've pinpointed as those that have been most disrupted by the pandemic, by coronavirus. But we are open in the pandemic task force to really thinking about any industry that is exciting to you. So just because we don't cover it today doesn't mean it's not something that we'd be thrilled to work on alongside of you. Travel is obviously, I think, one of the most disrupted industries right now. We have airlines that are going bankrupt. The airports are empty. They're getting a little bit more full, but travel is still down something like 80-90% from where it was last year. I think obviously we could focus on the negative, but on the positive side, like I was saying before, anytime an industry is disrupted, there comes so much opportunity. For example, RV travel and driving. There's probably a huge opportunity right now for someone to launch guided audio road tours. I think a lot of people still have the travel bug. They're just going to be doing it in a different way. So thinking through things like that and consumer trends around where people are spending their time and their income, I think it is going to be just a tremendous opportunity for the right group.
I love that. And as we move on for travel, what I'm going to constantly point out that I'm hearing you say is these industries aren't dead. They're just changing.
That's
There's
right.
New opportunities.
People still want to travel. Maybe they want to go camping. Maybe we're going to see a surge in people doing outdoor adventures. So maybe we're going to see places like national parks that are going to be surging in new and interesting ways.
Yeah, I love it. So let's move on to a second huge one. And I know we had a webinar about this one a few weeks ago that was fantastic, but education. Mm-hmm. This is a huge one.
education is a huge one. And I think this is an industry that we have to completely rethink from the ground up, because right now we rely on our schools for too many things. And that has all come crashing down. We rely on our schools for socialization, for babysitting, especially for young children like what I have, for learning. And I think what we've learned is when the schools close, we lose way too many things for children and for students. And so we need to rethink what is a model out there where maybe we're only relying on schools for one of those things. What does that look like? Where is the in-between between homeschooling and regular schooling? And I think whatever smart entrepreneur can figure that out is going to just change an entire industry.
I love that. What everyone just heard Randi say was she didn't talk about education being affected by 2 + 2 = 4. She talked about the other things that come with the traditional education landscape, the socialization of it. I think that is super fascinating. And again, what better people to solve these problems than the people that are sitting in it every day, students. So let's go into the next one that is absolutely gigantic. Commerce and shopping.
Well, this is a really interesting one because actually commerce is booming. It's just very different products than any of us would have thought. And I was going to play a little game where actually maybe we'll still play it. If you guys want to put in the comments, what do you think are the #1 products that have boomed in purchasing? Because I'm sitting here looking at a list as of the end of April of what products have been booming and what has been suffering. And I would like to see if anyone out there who's listening has a good guess of what it is. And we can come back to that in a sec. But I think that's what's really interesting is that commerce has just now completely changed. The way we shop for groceries has changed overnight. Will we ever step foot in a grocery store or supermarket again, or will it stay people ordering over the phone for things? Luxury commerce. If 40% of the workforce continues to work from home, what will happen in terms of purchasing things like fashion and other trends? We talked about travel, what people need to buy for travel. So I think it's going to be a very interesting world there. And I don't know if anyone's saying anything, but I'm going to give you a few tips of what some of the most improving categories in commerce are. Bread machines are the #1 thing that has soared. It's gone up 700%. So apparently everyone in the universe has taken up bread making as a hobby during this pandemic. And kettlebells and dumbbells the sale of them have increased 300% in just the last month alone. So it's pretty amazing. On the other hand, suitcases, luggage and suitcases have plummeted. It's dropped 80%, that entire industry, as have wedding dresses and tuxedos.
Oh, that's so sad, those last couple. But it is cool though. I've watched so many like Zoom weddings and interesting things like that people are figuring out ways. And you were talking about commerce, and it reminded me of an interview you did on your Sirius XM show where you interviewed a friend of yours named Jim Scheinman, who actually invented the name Zoom for Zoom that we all know. And he was talking a lot about grocery shopping in some of the ways. So I highly encourage anybody to go to Sirius XM and listen to Randi's Sirius XM radio show. She has some phenomenal interviews to talk about that. So moving on to our next category, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this. We're going to talk about entertainment and Broadway. I know Broadway's, really your expertise here, but what do you see in the entertainment space?
Yes. Well, I went from producing something like 7 Broadway shows to 0 Broadway shows overnight, but all live events. We've seen all live sporting events have been canceled, conferences, concerts, you name it. This is just a really difficult industry to be in. However, I think we're going to see some incredible advances in live streaming technology and ways that people are going to start doing virtual concert tours or virtual book tours. I think we're seeing the repurposing of some outdoor areas. Big parking lots like Walmart parking lots are going to turn into concert venues where you can drive up and actually tune in and see things. So people love to be entertained. They're going to find a way to do it. Animation is going to be on the rise. if films and television shows cannot film live, we're going to see a huge boom in the next year in animation products. So I just, wherever there is a challenge, there's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, and I love that you said that. We talked about this idea of like alternate reality, like AR concerts, where we're all in the same concert experience with our glasses on. Like, that's very real. That felt so far away, and that's very real right now.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, here's a huge one that I know I am really interested to hear about is restaurants and dining.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this. Obviously we all need to eat. We love the experience of going to restaurants, but I think restaurants are going to look fundamentally different. I wonder, will all restaurants have a camera in their kitchen, live streaming, so you can see how clean and what's going on in the back of kitchens? Will the next huge brand like McDonald's, will it even have humans working in there at all? Could there be a giant fast food chain that's run completely by robots? We're seeing a huge trend in a lot of major cities around restaurants that are delivery only, that they started like that even a year or 2 years ago. And a restaurant like that is very ahead of the trends in pandemic. So I think it will be very interesting to see how we eat. I do think a lot about the Michelin star system and fancy food. I wonder if that survives, because the entire experience of getting a Michelin star is about obsessing over every detail of presentation and temperature and how things look. And in a world like we're in today, does that even matter?
I think it's fascinating. And a side little anecdote to this is I walked across the street yesterday and there's a small little restaurant, and I was talking to the owner while I was picking up my to-go order. And he said, hey, his family owns 5 restaurants in the area. And he was saying, in some of our restaurants, we've actually never done better financially because they don't have as many employees and they're doing so much takeout service. So there's so many interesting things happening.
Absolutely. And I mean, people really want to support their local communities and their local restaurants. But I do think for at least the next year or two, we might be choosing where we eat based on health and sanitation and how trustworthy we feel the restaurant is over, what am I craving or what experience am I going to have?
Yeah, no doubt about that. And the last kind of big topic that I think this is a huge one that we were already seeing some changes in, but I know now it's like already just changed overnight, is the healthcare industry and doctors' visits and things like that. So what are you seeing and hearing about that?
For sure. Well, this is, I think, no doubt one of the most exciting areas to focus on right now, because telemedicine was just a tiny fraction of the healthcare industry leading up to this. And all of a sudden, almost every doctor's office in the world had to go online and do telemedicine overnight. What this means is it has forced insurance companies to have new policies around telemedicine. It has forced industries that thought, no, you could never do this over telemedicine, like psychiatrist visits are now being done very effectively in either one-on-one or group therapy sessions over video conferencing. So I sure hope that that's something that's here to stay, because the thought of, going back to sitting in a crowded waiting room with sick people and things like that just doesn't seem like something any of us want to do after you've experienced that you can have an effective telemedicine visit. So that's something that I think is just a wide open industry for people to rethink.
Yeah, and no doubt about that. And that's something I've experienced in my own life. I've had doctor's appointments over, Zoom or FaceTime or any of these other platforms. And honestly, it's better, frankly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things already. And I know friends that that are therapists or friends that have therapists. They meet with their therapists on platforms like this. And it's going to be fascinating to do it. So, Randi, those are like the 6 main categories that we're really focused on for today.
Yeah.
And again,
that's just a smattering of the industries that have been affected. We could talk about so many. And one thing I also want to throw in there, Brian, I'm sorry to cut you off, is that we talked about a lot of huge trends in business, but you could have something very impactful that starts in a very tiny way too. For example, I wanted to share one of my favorite pivots that I have seen in this entire pandemic is there's a farm in California that lost all of their revenue overnight. They had no more school field trips coming. And so what they did was they started renting out their animals to join corporate Zoom meetings. So you could like hire a llama for $100 to come on and pop into your, IBM corporate Zoom meeting and just give a little joy to your colleagues. And they got so booked out, it was like a month before you could hire the llama. And so what they ended up doing, they recruited something like 200 tiny farms around the country to also have their animals be available on Zoom also. And now they've actually created quite a meaningful source of income. So, you don't need to come in thinking, I'm going to revolutionize the telemedicine industry. I think some of the best projects are things that start small in your community from passion projects and build from there.
I love that. And I feel like I remember like it was yesterday, we had a team meeting and you got on the call to your guys and I'm very certain I remember you saying, guys, we need to hire a llama. We need to get a llama at our team meeting.
It was amazing. I've never seen adults so riveted in a web conference except and her name was Dolly the llama. So of course that was,
That's pretty perfect actually. So but before I let you go here, Randi, I want, who's the kind of student that you think is right to participate in this program? It's going to be a 3-week program. It's going to be a couple hours a week. And Michael and I will give all those details here in a second. But like, who do you think is the best student to want to participate in this program?
Well, I think, you don't have to have done anything entrepreneurial at all before this in order to be great for this program. I think if you want to just think in a really deep way about the world, and if it feeds your soul to come up with creative and interesting and innovative solutions to problems that are affecting the whole world, if you want to get up there and we're going to put you in front of industry experts, maybe even media outlets to talk about your ideas, if that sounds exciting to you. I think there are two kinds of great entrepreneurs. There are the kinds of people that are, coming up with 50 ideas and are going to run with all of them. There are also great operators. There are people who take someone else's idea and say, okay, here's the 12-step plan to getting this done. So if either of those types of people speaks to you and you're sitting there thinking, okay, I'm the idea person or I'm the operator, and you just want to really join us sinking your teeth into big problems and doing something meaningful over the summer, we'd be so thrilled to work with you. And I hope that means I'll probably be voting for you one day for some office or applying to work for you one day. So it gives the added benefit of I get to know you now, so that when you go on to have world domination,
I love it, by the way. And we're going to say bye to Randi, but Randi, every time that you talk, I just get this feeling that I am going to be able to come up with a problem that solves the world. That you give us this passion and this energy. So thank you for that. We are so happy to have your time. We know you have your family there with you in California. So thank you. I'm so glad you're safe. And thank you for giving us your wisdom tonight. I hope everybody will hang on for a minute and let Michael and I tell you just a little bit more about the program and how we can help you and answer any questions that you have. So thank you for joining us, Randi.
Thank you so much. And I really hope that I get to meet some of you who are tuned in today as you go through the program. So thanks so much, everyone, and talk soon.
Thanks, Randi, so much for joining us. And for the rest of you, just stick with us here for just a couple of minutes. And I want to give you a few details about what's happening with our post-pandemic task force program. Just like Randi said, one of the things that we didn't really talk about with Randi until she mentioned it there at the end was this idea that we have a lot of her friends that are going to come on and participate in this program. The program starts on June 15th, and we're going to meet on Monday and Wednesday from 1 o'clock to 2:30. That's Eastern time zone. If there's any confusion about that, you can reach out to me and we'll tell you all about that. So that is when we'll be doing it. It's not a huge amount of time. It's 3 hours per week. But really, what we're going to do on every single call is we're going to bring in an industry expert. It could be a famous chef or somebody famous in the travel industry or in the commerce industry or the entertainment industry. And we're going to actually bring them on the calls where you students will be in it. We'll talk to them and have a conversation, and then we'll use their conversation as a starting point to inspire us, as then Michael and I and some of the rest of the Zuckerberg Media team lead you into figuring out, well, what kind of solutions can we come up to solve these problems? So again, by being on this call tonight, we're so happy to have you. We have about 100 people from all over the world on this call, and we have exactly 10 spots left in this. And our hope is that we fill them all up. And then so Michael and I have to scramble and create other groups of this and get all of you in this. We want everybody to have an opportunity. But being on here tonight, we want you to be able to pre-register and get the early bird special and be a part of this. And I also want you to know, before I bring Michael back in so that he can tell me whatever I've missed, which is no doubt a lot. But after this, we also have another 3-week program coming up that we're going to do another webinar about. And that program is going to be called How to Become an Influencer for Good. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. But for now, it's all about this post-pandemic task force. It's all about deciding, how in some small way can I work toward coming up with a solution that may be really cool by being inspired by these amazing industry leaders like Randi Zuckerberg and a lot of our friends here in the Zuckerberg Media family. And at the end of that, you're even going to have the opportunity to give those ideas to us, to the Zuckerberg Media team, and really to the world at large. So we're excited to provide that kind of access to you. We're really excited to mentor you through the process, and we just can't wait. And obviously, we would love for you to register just as soon as you can. Let's fill up this group. Let's get excited about it. I'm really, really excited about it. We know we have a Memorial Day weekend this weekend, so we hope you'll get on this when you can and be a part of this program that starts on June 15th. And by being on this call, we're happy to give you an early bird discount to save $100 off the program. So Michael, I'm sure you're here to fill in the gaps of anything I may have missed in the next 90 seconds.
Well, Brian, I'm just going to end with 2 thoughts. One, we have 3 main values here at Zuckerberg Institute. Number 1 is that everyone belongs. Everyone is an entrepreneur. Everyone has the potential to be an entrepreneur and to innovate and to provide solutions and to ask questions of tomorrow. Number 2 is that we are searching for your authentic voice. And we believe that's done in community. And we believe that you have something interesting, provocative, powerful to say, and we want to hear it. And then number 3 is we want to hold you accountable to that. We want to help you hold your hand, help ask questions with you to say, what do you want to bring to the world? And what questions do you have? And what solutions do you have to help solve these problems of today? That's what matters to us. And we're just so excited to have you here. I'm so excited that you joined us on this webinar, and reach out to us. We will write you back. You can write us personally at admin@zuckerberginstitute.com. We'll respond to your email if you have any questions, but hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful Memorial Day weekend here in the US, and thank you for joining us. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.